Mi gente hermosa, estamos de lujo en esta casa porque tenemos como invitado a Jonny de detrás. Hi Jonny, how are you?
Hola, hola. I'm doing very well. I'm very happy to be here.
I can see that you have been working on your Spanish with hola.
Oh, I'm so bad at Spanish. Your English is much better than my Spanish.
Oh, thank you. Le estaba diciendo a Jonny que con su hola se ve que está estudiando español, muchachos. But tell me, Jonny, you're with this new album, Jonny, how do you feel about it?
Oh, I'm so glad it's out. It's the album of all my albums that feels the closest to my heart.
Okay.
And so I just feel like each song is like a child or a baby of mine, and they're finally out in the world, and I'm just, I was very nervous putting this album out because I was so close to it.
Okay.
And it's so beautiful to see it be loved. It's like all my children are being loved, so I feel very warm inside, and I couldn't be happier, actually.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Mi gente, pues le pregunté a Jonny que cómo se siente con este nuevo álbum Jonny y que se siente con unas canciones que ama desde lo profundo, desde su infancia, y que cada una de estas letras tiene impreso su corazón y que no podría estar más contento. Entonces, Jonny, now tell me, what can your fans find in these lyrics? Like, is this your story, someone else's story?
Yeah, I think, there's 16 tracks on the album.
Okay.
And I think each one represents a different part of what makes me who I am. So, like, listening to this album for me is like looking into a mirror. I see myself in the whole project.
Wow.
So it's a very personal album.
Yes.
But I think that the themes are so relatable as well. Even if you didn't go through the same pain I went through or experience the same joys, there's a lot to attach yourself to with your own personal story and your emotions.
I love that. Mi gente, le pregunto a Jonny que qué sorpresas pueden encontrar ustedes en estas nuevas letras, y nos cuenta que tiene 16 tracks este álbum y que cada una es un espejo y de su vida y de lo que él es ahora, y que independientemente de si todos hemos vivido esas experiencias en específico, todos podemos empatizar y sentirnos vistos. Well, I love that. You're gonna make me cry. This is such a deep
The album will make you cry. I mean, it makes people cry.
I have listened a couple of songs,
Okay,
and I did cry a little bit.
There we go. See, I told you.
And now, tell me, are there any featurings coming through in your in the music?
Yeah, I've never really done a collaboration on any of my albums. I've always just kept it my song, my voice, and with this album, I felt like I was able to do that, and at the last minute, I had an extra piece of music I had written, and Rico Nasty reached out to me and said, I'd love to make some music with you, and I said, this is perfect, So I sent the track to her, and she responded immediately. We got in the studio, and when we were in the studio together, we talked for 3 hours before we even recorded a note. I think we both cried, we both hugged, we both laughed, and at the end of the session, I said to my producer, that was the best session I've ever had. And Rico texts me and says, that was the best session I've ever had. And it was just this beautiful coming together. It felt like we'd known each other for a long time. So I put it on the album, and I'm really proud of it.
Those are the best sessions.
Yes.
Chicos, pues Jonny me está diciendo que sí hay una colaboración, que Rigo le mandó mensaje por DM, y porque escuché una de sus canciones y le dijo, me muero de ganas por colaborar contigo. Así que se juntaron en el estudio y estuvieron 3 horas platicando antes de que siquiera se pusieran a grabar algo, y que fue una plática de aquellas, muchachos, y que ha sido de las mejores sesiones que han tenido los dos artistas. And Jonny, one last question.
Yes.
I was very intrigued with the picture that you chose for the album cover, so tell us about that.
Yes. So that was actually a self-portrait that I took myself 10 years ago. I had been working on an album called Portamento, which is one of my most beloved albums now. And at the time, I was just given a camera from a friend, and I said, you know, I don't take photos. I don't know what to do with this. So I put it away in my closet. And then just one day I decided, I'll take this camera down. And I decided to drive up to my childhood home, which was 5 hours away. And I crawled into my childhood window when my parents went home. And I decided to take photos of myself. I took my clothes off and I set a timer, and I took nude portraits of myself in all these different places of the house. I grew up, had a very difficult childhood. It was very hard with abuse, and it wasn't very fun. And so I had to leave. And so when I came back and snuck into my room and took these photos, it felt like I was taking power back. Like somehow I was reclaiming power for myself in a place where when I was a child I had no power. So
I
in
love
that way
that.
it's very powerful.
Thank you very much. Bueno, chicos, nos cuenta que el álbum tiene una foto de él que es un desnudo por ahí que se tomó hace unos años, que es en su casa de la infancia y que él lo consideró como una forma de volver a tomar el poder sobre su infancia, que fue un poco dura, pero thank you very much for coming to Mexico and talking with us, and I loved your music. So, mi gente, vámonos con un poquito de música de The Drums. Thank you very much.
Adiós. Gracias.